I'm going to open up a public hearing on Senate Bill 91. And with that, I'm going to go down to the, in there as Beth explains this. So open that up.
Madam Chair and committee members, Senate Bill 91 prohibits, effective January 1, 2026, the sale and use of firefighting foam, as well as prohibits the disposal of firefighting foam containing PFAS at certain facilities, and requires the EQC, in consultation with the state fire marshal, to establish a program to ensure the safe collection and disposal. There's a -1 amendment available to you on OLIS that replaces that measure and prohibits a fire department, an employee, or volunteer of the fire department from using PFAS firefighting foam except as required by the Federal Aviation Administration or other federal law.
Chair Sollman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Brock-Smith and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Janine Sollman. I am the state senator for Senate District 15, and that includes areas of Forest Grove, Cornelius, Hillsborough, and the Rock Creek area of western Washington County. PFAS is a class of chemicals that are extremely harmful to not only the environment, but to our human bodies. We have taken action in this piece of legislation to remove PFAS, or actually in other legislation, to remove PFAS from cosmetics, personal care products, and children's products. It's time to take action on firefighting foam that contains PFAS and protect our first responders from further harms caused by these chemicals, which have been linked to cancer, high cholesterol, reproductive and thyroid problems, and immune suppression. This bill is a simple phase-out bill, and I think you'll see that in the amendment, that it will allow for folks, for fire stations to use the existing stock of firefighting foam containing PFAS. It will be used up, and then once that is gone, which it must be replaced with foam that does not contain PFAS. We spoke with firefighters who helped to determine the phase-out date to let us know that existing stock would be available to be used up by July 1 of 2026. We thought that was a sufficient amount of time, a year, nearly a year and a half. There are also current products on the market that can be used as alternatives. So when we were exploring this bill, first of all, I was attending a CSG West event and heard from other legislators that were bringing forward bills such as this. And then I went to CSG National, and I heard from legislators from Pennsylvania who are also working on such pieces of legislation. And so this bill, we wanted to make sure, so I started inquiring with local fire stations, such as the one that I represent, Forest Grove Fire, and then the Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, which has some stations within my district, and both do not use PFAS-containing firefighter foam. And so we knew that this was an achievable goal. They did ask and want to just make sure that this didn't include turnouts. Now, that's not to say that the firefighters, their turnouts are okay to contain PFAS. They currently just don't have something that has a strongly researched recommendation for replacement. So obviously they want to have something that does the job of protecting them when they are in such high extreme temperatures, and currently turnouts aren't just quite there. And so knowing that PFAS foam was something that was readily available, we thought this was an achievable goal to protect public safety of our first responders and in the environment. So colleagues, it's been interesting. This bill has generated a lot of conversation. We've had people that have signed up for the bill and then called us or talked to Beth and said, wait a minute, actually, we aren't in this bill, so we're okay with not being in this bill. I mean, talking in opposition. Really is a simple phase-out bill, but really it's going to, having this bill, provide this phase-out date will provide more of an awareness and to our fire, our fire departments, where my dad was a proud founding member of the volunteer fire department in the 70s in Gales Creek. So firefighters and their safety hold a near and dear place in my heart. And so colleagues, I do urge your support of this bill as we are bringing them forward for the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Any questions?
Yes.
Can you send me the research data on causing cancer, of the stuff causing cancer,
Oh, absolutely.
at concentrations comparable to what people are exposed to? 'Cause
Yeah,
of course,
absolutely.
that's the first
And
thing I'd like to look at.
Vice Chair Brock-Smith and Senator Robinson, we certainly can get you some data based on that. Also, what is interesting is the thought that I had in my head to say to you has left my head at this moment. I was just like, it was right there. But we certainly will get you the data on the harmful effects of PFAS in firefighter foam. And I reserve the right to bring that other thought back to you. So,
Follow-up.
super.
Have you looked at the cost of the replacements? Are they comparable? It's not a significant change?
Vice Chair Brock-Smith and Senator Robinson, I personally have not looked at the replacement cost. We do have someone coming from the that will explain some of that to us. But I do want to say that there are other impacts that we should pay attention to when it comes to the safety and well-being of our firefighters. We have taken real step forward in legislation to understand the dangers that they face, not only on the job, but the hidden dangers of the products that they use to keep us safe, have been providing negative health impacts to them. And so sometimes we have to pay attention to that as well, and making sure that they're safe in what they do for us.
Anything else for the chair? Okay, thank you so much. And so now we will invite Mr. Koenig? Koenig, excuse me, thank you. And Miss Weston? Is she online?
She just left the room.
Okay, well, we'll hear from you and then,
I didn't think she was testifying, so.
please.
Thank you.
Okay.
joining
Good
us.
afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you for having me today. For the record, I'm Carl Koenig, and I am the president of the Oregon State Firefighters Council, and I'm also a retired firefighter, captain paramedic, who was a training officer and used thousands of gallons of AFFF, both training and actually on fires. We're here to testify in favor of the -1 amendments. We talked to our partners at the Oregon Environmental Council, and really there was a lot of different things moving at the same time. Certainly DEQ, replacement cost, opportunities to exchange foam, one type of foam for another. Frankly, to have our inventory squared away. Another point in my testimony is our airports are all switched over. So if you started at Portland, went to Hillsborough, Salem, Medford, Kingsley, and on the east side, Pendleton or Hermiston, depending on who you talk to, the airport over there. They went ahead and made the exchange from AFFF, that's aqueous film forming foam, and traded it for what's now called, industry calls P3. That's a non-PFAS containing foam to fight aircraft fire. So we're frankly the first state in the union who went ahead and made that a statewide priority. There's no other states in the country that have went ahead and made that exchange, which I think is very important. This bill, if it moves on, would make Oregon the 16th state to outlaw, if that's the right word, AFFF. We have a meaningful replacement that works. You heard from the senator in regard, we have other PFAS-laden equipment that we're working on a substitute for, but it doesn't make much sense as firefighters to make something illegal without a substitute. We'd put ourselves out of business, and so that's probably not good either. So that will continue to move on, and all of our partners, whether it's Oregon Fire Chiefs, we've spent a ton of time, our partners at DEQ, trying to make us understand they start talking about short chain and long chain, and we're, whoa, stop. That's way too much, and go from there. I think the -1 amendments make the most sense for us to get that inventory taken care of throughout the state besides the airports I spoke of, and then really work with our partners at DEQ to really figure out what that disposal piece looks like. And frankly, our teammates at Tuolumne Valley Fire and Rescue actually did an exchange program where every drop of AFFF that they had not previously opened, they got to exchange 1 for 1 with the new P3. So the foam manufacturers understand what they have here, and they're not trying to peddle us anything that's going to break us. Any discussions about getting rid of carcinogens for firefighters is a big deal. And it's a big deal for public safety, environmentally. So we've really, this bill has really created an opportunity for us to hang out with folks that we typically don't interact with. And I think that's good too, for us to get some perspective and be able to sell our position on things that may have an economic, or not only economic, but environmental impact, along with our own safety. So our coming today and testifying is really about supporting the -1 amendments, and hopefully we can get this out of this committee and moved on to the floor. And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I appreciate you being here and appreciate your years of service as well and continued service in supporting our firefighters. So questions? Senator Golden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Koenig, thanks for coming. And I'm looking at the -1, and it says that the bill would become operative on July 1st, 2026, so a year after we adjourn this session. Is that year interim there in order to let departments work down their current inventory, or why do you think we need to delay a year on that?
Madam Chair, Senator Golden, we talked extensively. Initially in the original bill, it was Jan 1, and we said, well, we've got this, we've got all these players, and some are regulatory and some are emotional. And so having that be the case, we wanted, we didn't have answers. One, I already spoke of the inventory issue. We don't know if there's 5 gallons out there or 500,000 gallons out there. My gut feel it's in the middle. We don't have that much, especially since the airports exchanged their inventories. But we really need to know those numbers. And my colleague behind me here in the uniform, we are going to work with the fire chiefs and get an inventory in the state. And then that, we can go back to DEQ, for example, and say, hey, we've got X amount of this stuff. What's the best way for us to get rid of that? And by Wednesday at 3 o'clock, that wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So that really is what drove the -1, was to say, look, all the things that were in the original thing they make sense. There's no pejoratives in there or anything bad. It's just the fact that time and making sure that we identified the problem, that we came with a meaningful solution that doesn't put our fire districts and fire departments up against a wall that they couldn't meet, I think is probably the best way to explain that.
10 seconds more. I just want to thank you, Mr. Koenig. Your members increasingly have been tapped to help with our wildfire crisis, and without them, we'd be in pretty sorry shape. So just really lots of gratitude. I think I speak for a lot of lawmakers expressing gratitude for the work your folks are doing.
Thank you very much, Senator. We appreciate that. I think, Madam Chair, with a little bit of leeway, every day is a new day of stuff. I thought this morning's report by the State Fire Marshal's Office to Senator Brock Smith's committee was outstanding, and started to really make some significant headway. I mean, if we looked at 2 million acres burned and we lost 125 homes, that's exactly 125 too many. But in 2020, in your district, we lost 4,000. So to put that in, comparative terms, out of the park performance for every one of those firefighters, career, volunteer. We had 13,000 firefighters in the state of Oregon at the peak of our conflagrations. We only put, even with temporaries, we only put about 7,000. on the line. So we are about half short. So I would look for us to continue to talk through that Oregon wildfire funding and those challenges to make sure, and we appreciate the recognition, and our members just go out and do what they're told. And just like this bill, we're not gonna do anything we're not supposed to, and that's just not our credo, and service above all else. And we appreciate the support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I want to echo my colleagues, Senator Golden's comments of thanks, greatly appreciated. To Senator Robinson's comment before, but it's very helpful to know that the manufacturers of the various foams are willing to do an exchange program. I assume they're taking in the what do you call it, the
AFFF,
AFFF,
right?
and giving you the triple P.
Yeah.
But then they're selling the AFFF back to people that haven't passed this.
Yeah, well, luckily, we're only 16 states, right? So with
Yeah,
this
there's a
passes, so
market.
there's a big market out there, right? I'm saying places like Pennsylvania, and this is a forefront issue, and pretty soon it'll be 50.
Of course.
But luckily, there's always the South, so we'll have plenty of places to. Was that out loud? Did you guys hear it?
It
Oh,
was
no.
outside your head.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know the South needs any firefighting right now because it was wet, now cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, that's why it's not global warming anymore. So he opened the door, right?
I'm closing it though.
So but to Senator Robinson's previous question with regards to costs, I assume the cost is comparable to the existing.
Yes, it is. And they are the manufacturers of AFFF and now P3, as the industry now calls it, are very aware. This is, I don't even know what to compare it to, akin to, but they know they've got this product they need to help get rid of.
Yeah.
And so the exchange program for us is something that we're going to spend quite a bit of time with those folks and say, hey, and then figure out what to do with that stuff we already have. Because there are some rigs that are pre-plumbed with that, so we have to take what's already on the apparatus and, for example, get rid of that, and that's what Tualatin had to pay for in their thing. So it's very luckily it's programmatic or by protocol, so there's not really much room for mistakes or anything other than getting rid of it. And that's where our DEQ partners come in and say, okay, we have to do this, this, and this. And then we're like, okay, that's what we'll do.
Well, no, follow up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here and giving us the testimony. And of course, Madam Chair, thanks for bringing the bill. At the end of the day, this is firefighter safety and quality of life for them. We don't use lead paint anymore for similar reasons.
Right.
We don't use asbestos anymore for similar reasons, right? So, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, appreciate. I just wanted to say that I appreciate the opportunity, multiple opportunities that we've had for conversation, and really, this piece of legislation has never been set up as a club to firefighters to say you must do this. We're really trying to work with you and understand that it isn't just about the environment of everything in our waterways. Like, deeply concerned about firefighters, and especially with the past legislation that we have passed here in Oregon, to make sure that you're covered on the health side of the impacts that you face because of what you do. So I just wanted to thank you. You had further?
I did, actually.
look at that.
Made me think of, and you might not be able to answer, but when it comes to, I assume a lot of this is our structural firefighting foam. When it comes to the retardant that is dropped on wildland firefighting, do they have any of these PFAS chemicals?
I can't answer that specifically.
Okay.
Regarding, there's been multiple color changes, if you've, Madam Chair, sorry, and committee. There's been multiple changes in that formula, and where they're at right now, I couldn't speak to.
Thank you.
I can stop by and ask and stop by and say, hey.
Yeah, please do. Or shoot me an email.
Actually,
Oh, please.
we have an answer for that. Beth,
Madam Chair and committee members, sorry about this, but you had asked that question earlier, so I had reached out to ODF
thank
and
you.
OSFM, and they replied, and I'll format this into one message to be posted online, that OSFM replied that they were not aware of any use of PFAS at this time, and ODF said that they do not use firefighting foam that has PFAS. I'm not sure about an individual retardant. I can follow up specifically on that.
Thank you.
But that's what I have so far.
Yeah.
thank you.
Because
quite welcome.
next up is, we're talking about fishies, and so, we want to protect them from this stuff
I
too.
know how to fish, not well at it, but I do. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Well, I do want to call on Elizabeth Remley, but I do not see her in the room. And so with,
Is she,
no,
no,
I see Riley, yeah. So, yeah. We may have addressed the issue that they were concerned about, especially with your testimony, Mr. President. I'm going to have to disappear to testify in a moment. Okay. So with that, excuse me, I'm going to close a public hearing on Senate Bill 91. And I'm going to most likely disappear, and you're going to most likely be sitting up here
actually,
for a bit.
I'm just going to sit here.
Do it from here?
Yeah,
So you
I'm
can do
gonna
both.
sit-
Look
yep,
at you.
I'm just,
So with that, I'm going to open up a,
unless I can give Senator Robinson, no, I'm just kidding.
look at him. He's giddy. So, do you want to open them one at a time? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.